What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. I wanted to recap the 2017 Beaver State Fling out at Milo Mciver State Park here in Estacada, Oregon. It's about 45 minutes outside of Portland, depending on what part of Portland you're in. And actually, we made really good time and probably got out there in less than 40 minutes, heading out there Sunday morning. It was a great event. I kind of got away from doing the tournament wrap-ups and stuff like that here on my channel just because I wasn't there live for any of them, obviously, and I just felt like I was more or less describing the stuff that I saw on Jomez or Central Coast or on Marty McGee's channel or Smashbox Live or any of the other coverage. You could pretty much just go watch for yourself and see what happened. So unless I really watch a lot of the coverage or anything really interesting happens that I would like to kind of give my take on, I'll probably kind of stay away from these. But having actually been out there to watch the entire final round of the Beaver State Fling 2017 on the men's side, I wanted to do a wrap up and give you guys the rundown of what went down out there at Milo. So here's your official spoiler alert. You are definitely going to hear the winners in both of the major divisions. So be aware of that. I'm clearly going to spoil everything for you guys if you listen to this, as is the point of a wrap up tape podcast. So let's get into it. Okay, so the way this tournament works. Again, it's out at Milo Mciver State Park, one of my favorite courses, one of the best courses in the world as far as I'm concerned. I obviously haven't played too many of the other ones around the country, or out of, especially, obviously have not played anywhere outside of the country. That being said, it's widely considered one of the best courses in the world, and I feel like all the top players can't be wrong. You know, there's so many people that agree that it's just an amazing park and it's just phenomenal golf out there. It's got every kind of shot you could need. Uphill, downhill, left, right, super tight woods, big open shots, par fours, par fives, short par threes, long par threes. It's just one of the most varied and just epic layouts out there, and it's just really amazing. So for the permanent layout at Milo Mciver, it's a 9-hole course, and then there's an 18-hole course. For the Beaver State Fling, it's expanded into 2 full 18-hole championship-level disc golf courses, and it's just super epic out there. Again, it requires every shot out there to be able to shoot well here. You got to be able to throw rollers, hyzers, forehands, backhands, turnovers. It's got it all. You really need to have the full range, and you need to get a little bit lucky in certain instances as well. And yeah, it's just an epic complex of disc golf. So the way the tournament works is essentially on Friday, they play the full layout. So they play all 36 holes on Friday. They play the West, and then they play the East. I believe they played West first and then East. Then Saturday they play West. Sunday they finish on East. I believe that's correct. But either way, for sure, they play both of the courses, the full 36-hole layout on Friday, then they play 118 on Saturday, and then the other 18 on Sunday. So after the first round, Paul Macbeth and Ricky shot really well, and I believe they were both 9 down after the first round and tied from there. And then, let me click over here. Round 2 did not go quite to plan for Ricky Wysocki. He did not shoot very well. On the East course, on the second round on Friday, Ricky shot 1 down while Paul went 7 down, therefore creating quite a gap, and it definitely had some work to do. Eagle McMahon shot really hot in the second round, 6 down. Anthony Barella did really well, Nate Doss as well. You'll notice, though, too, looking at these scores, there was very few double digits under par rounds out there. It's just a really, really difficult, challenging layout, and you're not going to see a lot of, you're not going to see a 15 down at Milo or something like that. It's just, that would be just insane. I'm not sure what the course record is, but yeah, you're not going to see that too often. So then in round 3, Ricky comes out, as you would probably expect, I know as I would expect, and just absolutely shreds the west side. Shoots at an 11 down 50. Ricky goes 4 birdies to start the round, then he's got a par, birdie, birdie, par. Then he actually has a bogey, then another birdie, then another bogey. So he's shooting 11 down with 2 bogeys, as it's going to happen out there at Milo. To play bogey free is really impressive. So then he goes 6 birdies in a row, pars on 18, which is almost pretty much everybody's going to par 18 on West. It's almost impossible to. And yeah, ends up with a 50. Paul McBeth shoots 7 down. So going into the final round, Paul McBeth was up by 2 strokes, I believe. So Ricky picked up quite a few. I think there was a 7 stroke gap. Then Ricky picked up 5 strokes. They're back to 2 strokes, and that's where I come in. So I saw a lot of that coverage. Terry from Smashbox, a disc golf guy, he was out here. I actually ended up scooping him from the airport just because I had offered, and it worked out pretty easy for us to do that and dump him off at his hotel real quick. I was kind of talking to him about what his plan was. His plan was to film Chase Card because we had Jomez filming the FPO, Central Coast doing the men's lead card, so Terry kind of slotted in there and did the Chase Card coverage, which I'm really happy he did because he caught Ricky's 11 down 50 on the third round, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, fast forward, I get there to Milo Sunday morning. Let me back up this mic a little bit. I get to Milo Sunday morning, and me and Andy get out there and mess around Tournament Central. The weather was really ominous early in the week. It looked like it was just going to be horrendous out there, and it was saying thunderstorms and stuff like that. So I was getting concerned that we were going to have another cancellation or postponement or lightning delays or any of that stuff. From what I understand, none of that really took place. Friday and Saturday, there was definitely some rain out there, and got kind of sloppy and got miserable for some of the rounds. But as some of you know, any of you that live or spend time in Oregon will know that the weather changes rapidly. So you could basically be starting a hole in the pouring rain, throw your drive, then the sun pokes out. Now it's 75 and sunny and beautiful, and then you throw your second approach shot and it clouds over again. By the time you're walking to the next tee pad, it could be raining again. It's crazy like that. So especially this time of year, spring into early summer, June, it can be absolutely gorgeous. It can get in the 80s and sunny and beautiful, and then it can also be cold and wet. And we saw all of it out at Milo this weekend. So when I got there Sunday morning, it was just overcast. It was kind of muggy, but it did not rain. I didn't feel any rain at all, which was pretty awesome. Coming into about maybe hole 9 or so, I actually took off my jacket, and it stayed sunny and just absolutely perfect, gorgeous, calm wind, sunny, and just stunningly perfect, gorgeous out there. Nice fluffy clouds everywhere and blue skies, and it was just perfect weather for the whole final second half of the final round. So I got there and messed around Tournament Central. I bought myself a hat. I ran into some folks out there, which is always fun, and it's just really great to be in that environment where I just feel like I'm around my people. You know what I mean? Everybody there cares about disc golf as much as I do, which is something that I rarely get to experience. Even with a lot of my friends who may play, but they're all usually pretty casual, and they kind of glaze over if I get too technical talking plastic or really geeking out on Ricky or some of the scoring that's coming in on some of the rounds and stuff like that. They're just not that into it, which is fine. They like to get out and throw, and all that's good, but it's not an obsession like it is for me. It's not something that I spend. They don't spend nearly as much time thinking and working with it as I do, obviously, especially running this channel. Spend a ton of time, whether it's watching disc golf or testing discs or communicating with folks about stuff about the channel and different things like that. It's obviously filming the videos, recording stuff like this. It takes up a big chunk of my life, and it's really nice to be out there surrounded by people that agree, and a lot of people that are even more so into it than I am, and that probably a lot of them than I'll ever be, whether they're touring professionals or people that are out on the road, vending full time on tour, like the RV guys from DD and that sort of thing. So we had the DD booth, the couple of local clubs had booths there. There was some good vending going on, some good plastic. I didn't end up buying any discs, as you guys know. I have more discs than I know what to do with around here. So it's not crazy. Like, I'm sure a lot of you would assume I have a lot more discs than I actually do. I sell, trade, and or give away a ton of plastic, so I don't really stockpile it. Once I'm done with the review, if I'm not going to put it in my bag, I'll either give it away to you guys or sell it, or trade it for something different and try to keep the ball rolling to bring in new plastic and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though, just putzing around Tournament Central, a lot of vending, a lot of folks around there. Ran into some people I know, saw Tina and Eric Oakley. I don't know if I've ever met Eric before. Maybe briefly. Actually, I don't believe I have, but I know Tina. I met her at Beaver State Fling last year, actually, and I did a whale sax review and giveaway with her. We met up for a round out at Rooster Rock and stuff, so that was cool. She remembered me, gave me a hug and stuff, which is cool to feel like I have some friends in the disc golf community, and I'm not just kind of like on the outside looking in, which I kind of feel that way sometimes. But got myself a sweet Beaver State Fling hat and some stickers and that sort of stuff. I actually ran into Paige Pierce, and I had her sign my Convict, which was pretty rad. I brought it with me just in case I might be able to. We'll get into Paige's performance after I wrap up the men. But yeah, maybe we'll do that first. But yeah, it was pretty awesome to meet her and just chat with her for a little bit. She signed my Convict that's in my bag, so that's going to have a little extra mojo out there on the course, which I think should be pretty cool. And yeah, it was fun just kind of messing around there. Lead card teed off at 12:30. It's fun too because at Tournament Central there you'll see pros kind of wandering around, getting loose and doing practice putting and that sort of thing, signing discs and a lot of that stuff. In general, I kind of feel like you should probably leave them alone when they're practice putting, rather than try to go get autographs and stuff like that. Some players may politely or just say, hey, can you come find me later? But I saw Ricky and Paul Macbeth both stop while they're practice putting multiple times to sign stuff. Not recommended, but they didn't seem too hurt up about it. But honestly, they're gearing up for an important round. Thousands of dollars at stake. A lot of momentum going into Worlds on the line here for this event, and something that wasn't a huge deal, but just throwing that out there. If you guys are lucky enough to spectate a disc golf event in person before the round, if they're not practice putting and they're just hanging around, they're all cool, and I'm sure none of them would have any kind of issue with you getting a selfie or getting a disc signed or whatever. But once they're practice putting, they're kind of starting to get in the zone a little bit. Probably best to leave them be until after the round. And then after that, after the round is over, especially if it was the final round, the pros are all totally fine with you trying to go up to them and just say hey or get a disc signed or whatever. So I ended up watching some of the cards tee off, the fourth card, third card, second card, and obviously the lead card, which I was following, tee off from hole one there, and then kind of head out into the course, and I just more or less hung around there, and it was time for the lead card to tee off. The lead card was Ricky Wysocki, Paul Macbeth, Eagle McMahon, and we also had Anthony Barella. Barella had a relatively rough round. He ended up shooting over par. He got into some trouble. It seemed like he was having a lot of trouble dealing with the nerves and the pressure of being on the lead card for a huge event like the Beaver State Fling. It's a national tour. It's one of the highest ranked and highest regarded national tours of the year. One of the biggest events of the year, period. So he was definitely feeling the pressure, it seemed like. And I don't know if he's ever played for a gallery like that. And he made some pretty rough mistakes out there. So I'm not really going to be talking about him too much. I was fun watching him throw. The kid's got an absolute cannon. And once he dials it in a little bit and learns how to deal with the pressure, he's going to be a really, really tough player out there to beat. Eagle McMahon, similar kind of scenario. He's got all the skills, but he ends up making a couple of mistakes here and there, and ends up costing him the event. He was up there kind of challenging, but never really got into the tie for the lead, and never really came too close to taking it down. So I'm mostly going to be talking about the battle between Macbeth and Wysocki. They traded off all throughout the day. I don't know honestly if Ricky ever had the lead outright, or if they were tied at several times, and then Paul kind of came back, and then they tied again. It was pretty awesome though. So let's get into it. Hole one, it's a big turnover shot. It looks like it would be a good forehand hole, but it's kind of not. You kind of want to throw a big turnover, high turnover, and have it finish flat, or even flex out just at the last second to get you a look at the basket. Nobody really executed the shot too well. Ended up with Paul Macbeth taking a 4 there, and Ricky takes a par. So now they're down to 1 stroke, just like that, after the first hole. Then on hole 2, Macbeth takes a 2, Ricky takes a 3, so he's got his 2 strokes back. And that's pretty much how the day went. It's just like it stayed really, really tight throughout the entire event. Hole 3, you don't really get to watch. It is a little short hole in the woods there, and you don't really get a chance to see it. It's just too narrow for the gallery to get in there. So usually a few people try to run in there and maybe get a chance to watch it, but the bulk of the gallery gets kind of routed around. My move for that, since I've been going to this event for years, my move for this part of the time of the round is I'll usually just go down and wait by the basket of 5 and watch some of the other cards come through and putt out, and then just move on from there. So so Ricky and Paul both missed 3. Then they missed. Then they move on to 4, which is, I believe, the really short one. It's like a little. It's just a little putter turnover. Really, really easy shot. It's probably the easiest 2 to get on the whole property, or one of them. There's one on the west side that's probably a little bit shorter. I think the whole lead card got that one, but I didn't see it again because I was down outside. But yeah, it looks like they did. They all take 2s there, so it's still Paul up by 2 at that point. Then we go to 5. Ricky and Paul both parred that one. Eagle McMahon with a sick forehand roller. I saw it curl up like 2 feet away from the pin, which was just really epic. That was tremendous to watch. Then coming out of the woods, they roll out and kind of cross over, and then there's a big par 3, hole 6. So Paul gets a 3 there, or a 2 there. Ricky takes a 3, and now he's got 3 strokes, I believe. Then after that one, we're onto a par 4, right, coming back up the hill, and both Ricky and Paul both get that one. So there's that. Then they move on to hole 8. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see Ricky's putt on hole 8, hitting from probably, Ricky range, more or less. Splashes in a big 2 there. That was pretty huge for him. Paul Macbeth takes a par there. He knocks it down to 2 strokes. Then going into hole 9 is the Genius hole. It's a super famous hole. It's basically, you go up into the woods, you throw straight back down. It's a narrow gap, but it's so far downhill that if you really pure the shot, you can get down to the basket in one throw. Anthony Barella with probably the closest drive I've ever seen on that hole. Put it within 25 feet. It's an absolute mash, perfect line, just ridiculous. Ricky ended up maybe 70 feet short or something like that, over by the curb, downhill lie, throws it up there, hyzers in, jams it for the 2, so he takes the eagle there. Paul Macbeth misses his eagle putt, so there's another stroke for Rick. So now I believe they're within 1. Paul's got 1 stroke on him. Then they go into hole 10, which is another par 4. It's the island hole. Paul Macbeth has eagled that one multiple times in the past. I've watched him do it twice in other events. I believe it was last year. It was last year or the year before that he eagled the Genius hole and then 10 back-to-back. And I actually chatted with him in between the back-to-back eagles, which was kind of a cool moment for me. Paul, really nice guy. I I don't root for him out there on the course because I'm such a huge Ricky fan for whatever reason. We all just have our personal preferences and people that we root for and stuff. But Paul's obviously amazing player, one of the greatest to ever play, and always seems like a really nice guy. Any interactions I've had with him seems like he's really cool. So then, where are we at here? We're at 10. They both get up and down for the birdies, play it pretty textbook. Eagle threw an absolute cannon, gets all the way down there, and then just barely does not get over the curb. Kind of tries to play the giant hyzer, low hyzer, and skip off the road, back in bounds, hits the curb, and he ends up having to play from way, way, way back. I don't know if he got up and down for the birdie still. No, he did not. With the OB, of course not. No, yeah, he took a 5 on that one, so that was rough for Eagle there. So, going on from there, we get into hole 11, which is another par 4, somewhat routine for these guys. I believe it was a star frame. You throw a big, just kind of gentle hyzer out there, and then it's a forehand into the green. Most of the time, you'll see a lot of birdies on that particular hole for the Open division, especially if you have a card that has decent forehands, which obviously Ricky, Paul both have great forehands, Eagle as well. Barella threw a great one, so they all got up and down for the star frame on that hole. Then it takes you to 12, which is a little, maybe it's like 400 feet or something like that, maybe less, and it's a hyzer onto a little tiny island green in the parking lot. It's like a little median in the parking lot. Basically, there's no curb on it, so you can kind of scoot it up over there. You got to kind of either play short of that and putt across, whether it's a layup or actually go for it, or play for the green. Eagle made the green. Anthony Barella damn near aced the hole and skipped out the backside, which is kind of something that could happen if you get too aggressive on it and you don't catch the green. You can skip behind it and go OB. Ricky laid up short and ended up taking an easy par, just kind of pitched across. He gave it a little half a go, but that was actually the only bogey he had last year on the final round, so I think he learned from that and went for just a little bit less aggressive, gave it a chance to go in, but didn't blow past it out of bounds like he did last year. Paul Macbeth goes deep of the hole. So what happened was he throws deep and OB, so he's putting back in from the curb, and back across. Doesn't go OB, but he doesn't hit the putt. So he takes a bogey there on 12. Ricky takes the easy par, and it's a tie ball game going into the last few holes. The next one after that is a long par 3. It takes an absolute crush to get there, even though I believe it's only listed as 450 or something like that. You don't see a lot of 2s on that hole. You really got to mash it, and you got to keep it dead straight all the way. If you turn it over too much, there's crap that'll grab you and knock you down. There's a bunch of trees and bushes on the right hand side, and I believe Ricky hung it wide inside. Just threw it too much hyzer, didn't get enough snap on it or something. It just didn't stand up for him, and he ended up taking a 4. Paul Macbeth throws a Star Destroyer on a rope and parks it, puts it maybe 20, 25 feet away. At this part of the round, every single year, after 13, which is the hole we're talking about now, you go to the big par 5. It's 1,200 feet, and there's always a huge backup. So I watched the tee shots on that hole 13. I see that Ricky didn't do too well, and I saw that Paul just piped it way up there, and it's definitely putting, but I didn't know how close he actually got. It turns out he apparently parked it and got really close, tapped in for the 2, and Ricky ended up taking a 4. I ran over to the bathroom, refilled my water bottle, that sort of thing, and then I kind of mosey on down towards the basket of 14, because I know there's going to be a backup, and it's going to be quite a while before I see Ricky and Paul again. I was right. The same thing happened again, as maybe a half hour or so elapsed until Ricky and Paul made their way to the basket on 14. It's 1,200 foot par 5. It's a massive, massive hole. You got to kind of throw a roller and bend around the corner on the first shot. It's more of a placement. You can't really air it out. And then you have lots of different angles and ways to get there, but you just got to throw really clean, very far, accurate shots to get down to the basket. It's just a really epic hole and really, really difficult to navigate. And Ricky gets there and makes the par. And as we're kind of walking down towards the next basket to watch the shots come in on 15, as you like to do, and I always do, once they get to the green and they're kind of tapping out, you'll start walking down to 15, get in position to watch the drives come in. I noticed that Paul doinked a little short one, kind of hit it off right side, off one of the nubs or something like that, and just a little bit wide, didn't go in. So he took a 6 there, and now it's tie again, even though he just got. No, actually, now it's within 1. So Paul takes 2 strokes back on 13 right after Ricky tied it on 12, and then he gives one up immediately on 14. Now we get to hole 15. This is a big moment in the round. It's dead straight up on a little mound, 400-foot shot. I've seen Paul absolutely put it within 2 feet before in the past. It's a shot that all of them can execute. It's one of the few holes out there that I feel like I have a reasonable chance of getting a 2 on, in that kind of a distance range, other than some of the shorter ones. But, yeah, it really is a hole that they want to get up and down. They want to get that 2 for 15 for sure. I don't think anybody but Ricky did. Ricky throws maybe, again, 60 short or something like that. Definitely a far putt. Up onto a mound. Paul hyzered out, almost hit me and Andy standing right there. Andy jumped out of the way. Barely misses getting hit by Paul's Thunderbird. Paul's kind of on the road, on the outside. It's not OB, but he's definitely outside the circle on 15. Ricky is out, and he jams one like he does. He smashes it dead center. He runs it in as he wants to do, and as he always does. And it looked from my perspective like he was staring Paul down as he ran it in, and because Paul was standing right in front of me, and he was looking right across at the gallery, and he was kind of staring us down as he ran it in, yanked it out of the basket, crowd going nuts, and Paul steps up and just fires. He didn't set. He didn't take his time. The people are still cheering. People are still yelling, let's go, Rick, and whatever. And he just tries to throw it in. I don't know if he was trying to just match him straight away and just steal the momentum back and be like, look, I still got you by a stroke, or what his deal was, but he missed it. He hit the front of the tray or something like that. Didn't go in, and now it's a tie ball game again, and there's only 3 holes to go. So it was pretty exciting at that point. It was getting super tense, and the energy was insane. The gallery was enormous. Biggest I've ever seen it. It gets bigger every year, and it's just amazing to see, and it's really cool to be a part of it. And it was a huge gallery again this year. Biggest I've seen so far, and now we're going into 16. 16's a relatively easy par 4 for these guys, again, similar to, 11, where you kind of just have to navigate a gap and finish out. Then you have a forehand or a big turnover into the green. Paul and Ricky basically ended up in the identical spot, both through forehands. Paul left his inside a little bit wide and into the shrubs, and Ricky put his right in the outside of the logs, and probably well within inside the circle, maybe 25 feet or something like that, well within his range. It's the kind of putt that I would be happy to hit, but Ricky's guaranteed to almost guaranteed to hit it. Paul's in a kind of a rough position, and he needs this shot to stay tied going forward from there. He ends up jamming it. He really puts some energy on it, navigates it out of the bushes, through everything, jams it in for the 3. Ricky matches. We're going into 17, all knotted up still. 17 is a beast of a hole, and it's always kind of looming in the background. You always know it's there. You have to navigate it. You have to get through there clean. If you hyzer it out early, it's kind of up and around, long up and to the left, uphill. If you hyzer in early, you can just have nothing. You got nothing to get out of there. Which I believe Eagle did. He had some trouble with the hole. Ricky also did. Paul throws it up clean, way up there, and actually has a look for 2. So Ricky ends up having to reach out and throw like kind of almost like a tomahawk with a gold line Deco Dye Pure. Really, really high. Gets there to the point where he should be able to save the 3. and looks like they're going to go into 18 all knotted up. And Paul misses his chance for 2 on that hole and has an easy tap in 3. And Ricky hits off the band. So he misses the putt. He takes a 4, and now he's down by 1 going into 18. I'm kind of deflated. I mean, Paul McBeth is probably the best closer in the game. He's if you give him that chance to just get up and down and shut the door on you, it's very likely he's going to do just that. You get into 18, you can either go hyzer or anhyzer. The basket's very well guarded by a big row of trees. I feel like the anhyzer or the forehand is more the line. I believe Paul went for the turnover, but just kind of turned it over a little too much. I couldn't really see because there were so many people there. We were all trying to get in position to see the drives finish. And Paul ends up going dead into the heart of that row of trees, and he had nothing. And then Ricky steps up. He throws a forehand, catches just the outside of it, and he's within Ricky range, but he's actually got a look at the basket. He can run it. I can tell that only because he's standing there with his putters. He's got his putters in his hand. He's already assessed his lie, and I'm like, Ricky must have a look if he's only got his putters. He doesn't have his whole bag where he might have to reach in and get something to pull out some kind of a trick shot. Paul takes a good long while, probably the longest I've seen him assess a lie that I can remember. He's like kind of almost smiling to himself, like, how did I get into this position? He's struggling, trying to figure out what to do. Ends up throwing a little forehand roller that does not stand up and basically just gets around in front of the trees, and he's still left with at least 50, probably 50 feet or so. Ricky straddles out, throws it out there, starts running it in. The crowd's yelling, and he just barely missed it. I mean, it was so close, and had he canned that, he would have taken the outright win at that point, because Paul steps up from 50 and for the win and doesn't make it. So he takes a bogey on 18, and they're tied. Just absolutely ridiculous how close, and just neither one could pull away. Ricky just would not go away. He would not leave Paul alone. After 18, Ricky finished at 7 under par, Paul at 5 under par, and they're all knotted up going into extra time. So we're going into overtime. We go back to hole 1. The energy's insane. There's a ton of people out there, and it's just really, really fun, and just a great energy. I ran into Dynamite from Smashbox. He remembered me, which makes me feel good, because I've only played around with him before Beaver State. It was him, Paul Oman, Sarah Hokum, and I believe Dana's wife, Ashley, I believe is who it was. I don't quite remember, but they we ended up playing a practice round with them before Beaver State many years ago. It was before the first time I ever even went to the event. I believe it was 2012. Whichever year Sarah Hokum won her first Worlds is the year that I played with them out there at Milo. It was the coolest experience up to date for me, and still one of my favorite disc golf memories is playing with them, and just seeing like the professional approach to the game. And Dana was super cool, and I probably was terrible at the time. I mean, I can't imagine I was shooting very well, and none of them were frustrated to have me kind of in tow there. I threw a couple of decent shots, I'm sure, but nowhere near as my playing level now. And every year I run into him at Beaver State, he always remembers me and always says what's up, and it's really cool. So I ran into him and kind of BS'd with him for a second out there at hole 1, waiting for everybody to get ready. And here we go, and I'm feeling like it's Portland Worlds all over again. It's Paul and Rick. We're going into a showdown. There's the gallery's enormous. The tension's really high. Ricky's got the box because he's got the hot round, and either because he had the hot round or because he took the better score on the last hole. I forget exactly why he had the box, but he does. I'm not sure which disc he threw, but it wasn't a good shot. It was not turned over nearly enough. Fades out early into the shrubs, into a spot that would be probably a 5 for me. I can't see myself getting up and down from where he landed. And I'm like, oh, here it is. Paul's going to get him again. He steps up. He's got a rock 3, I believe. Rips it over, but just doesn't turn it over enough. Again, it's basically the same shot. I'm fairly certain Ricky threw a driver. Paul goes mid-range, does not turn it over enough, and they're in almost the same spot. Tricky up and down, but they both get up and down for the 3. We move on to hole 2. It was the hole that Paul got a 2 on during the main round. Ricky did not. Ricky still got the box, and he throws a monster drive. Super high, super cranked over, turned over really hard, finishes down maybe 18 feet on the downslope, looking straight at the basket. Clean look, and it's a 95% of the time Ricky's splashing that putt. Paul steps up. I believe he threw a destroyer, maybe one of his more understable destroyers, cranks it over, and he's up on top looking down at the basket. Again, huge gallery. Everybody's just like, this is it. Paul's got to jam this. He's got to hit it. He's like maybe slightly outside the circle, maybe circle's edge. It was hard to tell from where I was down at the foot of the green, and Paul runs it and just doesn't quite get it. Catches a little metal, skips off the rim, top of the rim, I think. Goes back down. He's still out, and it seems like it's over. We're like, that's it. Ricky's got this. Paul steps up, puts in his 3, and Ricky, no doubt, dead in the heart of the chains, and puts it to bed. So it was a 2-hole playoff. I was relieved not only that Ricky won, but as much as the playoff from Worlds was epic, at that point, I was like, I remember that day, I was like, oh man, how long is this going to go? Like, I've been on my feet for like 4 hours wandering around in the sun and watching these guys play, and as much as it was epic, and I definitely don't regret being there in person to watch probably the most epic playoff for a world title that we may ever see. It was exhausting, and it was tense, and I was really wanted Ricky to win, and when he didn't win in Portland Worlds, I was pretty upset, and I just kind of turned and walked away. I didn't even really stay around I just left. I was like, I'm out of here. I turned around, I walked away, I was sad, I left, we just went home straight away. I didn't really stick around for awards or any of that stuff. So it felt really great to see Ricky take it down, and it's a big momentum shift, and it's a big, he's just going to carry a lot of energy and a lot of momentum into Worlds after that win. He would not go away. He tracked Paul down over and over and over again. I don't think he ever was in the lead outright, but he tied it several times, dropped back down, tied it again. Clutch putting, eagles, birdies when he needed them, put the pressure on Paul, and it looked like he basically just outplayed him. He just out-pressured him, outplayed him, and took it down. Paul, I heard, I didn't see it, but Andy told me that after Paul missed the putt, he knew Rick was going to tap in for the win. He had another putter there, and he just, like the Hulk, bent it in half, like tacoed his McPro in half, and just cranked it out of sheer frustration with missing that putt. And because he had to know that Ricky was going to jam his two putt. He was just too close. And in the clutch situation, put it in there, put it to bed, and it was pretty awesome. Go back to Tournament Central, everybody's buzzing, and just a lot of great energy still, and felt really good. My ride was on the way, so I started kind of gathering up my stuff. Still managed to get over and congratulate Rick, shake his hand, get a quick picture with him, and that sort of stuff. And all in all, had a great time. It was an epic round, another amazing battle out there at Milo, and I felt really, really blessed to be out there with my disc golf family and the whole giant Portland disc golf community, taking in the action and being a part of the vibe, and just feels really great. I wish I had more friends that were in the disc golf scene, pros and that sort of thing. I would love to be more of a part of it, and maybe someday I'll get to do a tour and spend more time and really, really hang out and in whatever capacity, whether just go out there and watch or play some of these pro events at some point or whatever the case may be. I'd love to be a bigger part of it, but I keep trying to grow what I'm doing here, and I appreciate all you guys supporting my channel and listening to me and all that kind of good stuff. I'll take you over to the action for the women's field, and I can basically sum it up by saying that Paige Pierce is on another level, and she absolutely just destroyed the competition. She shot under par every round. She was the only competitor in her field to finish under par for the tournament, and she ended up winning by 18 strokes. I believe she was the only one under par for the tournament, but either way, She wins by 18 strokes. Yeah, no, she must have been. Yeah, just absolutely destroyed the field out there at Milo, throwing big shots, hitting putts, taking birdies, avoiding the mistakes, and just absolutely destroying. So Paige Pierce, playing up to her potential, is absolutely untouchable. If she's playing the best that she can play out there on the course, there's no woman alive that can beat her. I'll say it right now. I think it's indisputable. How can you say that anyone else has the potential to beat her when she's playing up to her best? I mean, we're not seeing the best performances out of some of her competitors in an event like this. Granted, it was not Katrina's best performance, but she beat Katrina, Val, Sarah Hokum, Lisa Ficus, Jessica Weiss. She beat all the best women in the world at this event and just absolutely demolished the field by 18 throws. I believe at one point, she was like one stroke out of the lead in Masters. Patrick Brown had her by one stroke. And it's also interesting because you can look at it. If you go look at the events page and the results for the event, they played the exact same layout, the exact same amount of times. So you can look and see exactly where Paige would have finished. And I believe she would have been in like 20th place in open men, beating out several high-level male players. Just, wow. Just what can you say? I mean, she just destroyed the field. You can go watch it on Jomez. It's not even a contest. She's just dominating out there. And her heading into Worlds with this kind of, again, hashtag momentum, like Ricky likes to say, what are you going to do about it? I mean, if she plays like that again, it's just on a lock. And she's just throwing this dynamic trilogy plastic so well. Feel like she has that support base underneath her, and she's just killing it. So congrats to Paige Pierce. Easily my favorite female player. One of my favorite disc golfers, period. And undoubtedly one of the best disc golfers in the world, male or female. She's just an amazing player. And yeah, just really nice too. It was very cool. And signed my disc and chatted with me for a little bit before her round. But it was more or less a victory lap. Going into the final round, she had 15 throws to play with, and she ended up adding to that and winning by 18, where she could have kind of let the foot off the gas and just kind of strolled through, but she played it out strong and just crushed it. So congrats to Paige Pierce. Congrats to Ricky Wysocki. Paul Macbeth finishes in second. I believe Eagle took down third place, which is nothing to sneeze at an amazing event like Beaver State Fling at Milo Mciver. Had he avoided a couple of those mistakes, he could have been in the hunt, and he was never like that out of it. Like he was pretty close. Like I said, just by way of being able to kind of describe the action, it was mostly a battle between Paul and Ricky, but Eagle was not that far away. And take away a couple of the mistakes that he made out there, and he could have definitely been in the hunt for it. So I think that'll do it for my wrap up of the Beaver State Fling. I do also want to let you guys know that the fundraiser by my friend Chris Caulfield of Aloha Disc Golf, trying to help me raise funds for my custom disc order, was beyond successful. He raised more than I needed to put in the order, and I was absolutely blown away. I got home from the Beaver State, and I was sitting and got the notification from my email that I had a PayPal payment from him. And I'm not going to tell you guys the exact amount, but it was over $100 more than I needed to put in the order. And the kind of generosity that goes into that, not only from the people making it possible by buying his mystery discs and sending in donations for the cause, but for Chris to take his own plastic that he has laying around and to more or less sell it and give all the proceeds from that to me to try to make my dream of having custom discs possible, even though I don't have the financial ability at the moment to do it myself. It means the world to me. I'm still kind of just stunned and shocked by the amount of money that he raised for this thing. It was just beyond successful. Absolutely amazing, and I'll be putting in the order for custom discs very soon. I may have to kind of compromise a little bit and order some stuff, put in an order for 50 discs and not necessarily get exactly what I was hoping to order when I thought about it. There's a reasonable amount of stuff out of stock with Dynamic right now. I contacted them to find out if they have a shipment coming in soon for things like compasses and lucid trespasses and stuff like that they're kind of out of or low on right now. So if that's coming in within the next month or so, I may actually wait and put in an order for some different stuff. But as it stands right now, they still have some sweet plastic, and if they don't know when they might get more blanks in, or they do know and it's going to be a little while, I may just put it in order sooner than later for some stuff. I'm looking at doing some biofusion stuff, some lucid, probably going to get some harps, and at least 10 of some kind of baseline prime disc. I'm thinking about getting prime truths, as like a good kind of beginner disc for people to take out there and learn the game with, that sort of thing. So huge thank you to Chris. Huge thank you to everybody who helped us out with that effort, and I really hope you guys are happy with the mystery discs you guys get. And since the fundraiser surpassed $500, be on the lookout for a giveaway from Chris for all the people who donated. I believe will be entered to win a Ranger bag, DD Ranger bag, fully loaded with like 20 discs. So yeah, just absolutely amazing. I appreciate it so much. It's just insane. So I cannot wait to get the box of DGN discs. It's just going to be the coolest thing ever. And then I can share them and sell them to you guys. So I'm really stoked about it. It's going to be amazing. That's it for the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast this week. Another amazing event out there at Beaver State Fling at Milo Mciver State Park. Huge thanks to all the people who helped put on that event. The Jeffs, Haggerty, and Middle, and for running such a great event. All the volunteers, all the staff for being out there helping do crowd control for such an amazing amount of people. And thank you to all of the world's best disc golfers for putting on another amazing show. I look forward to Worlds. I will check you guys soon. All right, bye.